And as your leader, I deem all other quads inferior!
You're such a tyrant!
Who said that? This is my Tyrant 180. This is a new quadcopter that was recently released by Diatone. And we're going to take a little close look at this one. Now in this video, or on this quadcopter right now, I have these Eachine motors. I do not recommend these motors. These are the BG2204s. Yeah, I don't recommend these. They are cheap and they work, but I don't recommend them just because I don't think the bearings in them are very good. But maybe I just got a bad set, I don't know. But two of these motors have loud squeaky bearings. Anyway, we're looking at this quadcopter. So let's take a look at the outside of it real quick before we start looking at the inside. The bottom is just one big piece of carbon fiber and it is 4 millimeters thick. So it is very, very durable. It's held up well in crashes that I've done so far. And the landing gear is already taking a beating. And I really like this quadcopter. Anyway, up here in the front it has the 2 millimeter top plate and a 2 millimeter plate here, and those provide a lot of protection for the components inside and help it survive crashes a little better. The only downside I've come across with this frame, if you even call this a downside, is that this motor, between these two plates is pretty tight and limited for space. And you can see here my buzzer is not plugged in because it just buzzes all the time and I don't know how to turn it off. But there's not a lot of room inside there. So if you're going to get a regular flight board that has pins on it, you're going to have to depin your flight board and solder directly to where the pins were. Because, like I said, there's not a lot of room. And also inside here, I didn't know where to run my receiver up here for the control. So what I did is I actually have it shoved in underneath the flight board. And right here, this part here sticking out, this is a FBVS01, which is the battery voltage sensor for a Tyrannus. And on this side, you can see the X4R receiver inside there a little bit better, kind of, I guess. But it's using the X4R SB, and it's using S-Bus, and it's connected right here into the fourth yellow wire here. That's where the S-Bus runs into, and then the positive negative output to power the receiver is also there. And actually the X4R SB that I'm using is the naked version where these wires are soldered directly to where the pins are supposed to be, and it doesn't come with pins soldered on it. So anyway, let's take this apart and we'll take a look at the inside and see how this stuff is laid out inside. I have the screws out and the top plate's up out of the way a little bit, and this back plate is unscrewed, and you can see on the bottom of the back plate is where I have the video transmitter, and it's just zip tied on there using the 4 holes that were up here to hold it in place. And then also the back here, instead of running the wires through those 2 holes, I ran them back here behind and just put 2 zip ties around the wires, and they kind of go one around or one through each of those holes, and it just holds the wire up out of the way of the motors. And then when I put the battery up here, I run the battery cable from the front of the battery back to the back so that this plugs in at the top, which further helps hold it out of the propellers because I don't want any chopped power cables. But underneath, the interior of this board is very, very clean, and that's because of the power distribution board. You can see here how the ESCs and the signal wires are soldered directly to here. I was a little hesitant to cut my wires that short, but I just did it anyway, and it worked out fine. And then I did the same thing for all 4 ESCs. They're all connected there. And after I got those done, I took a multimeter and I made sure there weren't any shorts, you know, going across from the negative to the positive or to the signal, and they were all fine. All the grounds are all connected together, so if you get those connected together by accident, you'll be fine. That doesn't matter because, like I said, they're already connected. But this flight board, it doesn't have any pins on it. If you notice, this is a NAS 32 board. It does have the cable here that goes from here down, oops, you can't see it very well, but down to the little adapter that's built into the power distribution board below. Maybe we get it like this, something like that. But it goes down into there, and all the ESCs are wired to that, and that connects up here to the flight board, and that's how it's talking to the ESCs through these wires here. Then on this side, this these pins here go down to the X4R SB, and the pin back here in the back is for the battery voltage sensor, so the NAS 32 can see how much battery juice is left. And then this pin here, this little piece here, this is where the buzzer is supposed to plug in. But like I said, I'm not an expert on this NAS 32, and every time I powered it on, it would just start beeping like the dickens. So anyway, that's kind of what it looks like there. Let me get this flight board out of the way and we'll look at what's underneath it. Now that the flight board is loose, we can move it up out of the way, and you can see this is where the cable came down and connected to the power distribution board down here for the ESCs. And here is the X4R SB, and here is the little FrSky battery voltage sensor. Now I was hoping this would fit in here a little better and this could stack up here on top, but it can't because this, sorry, get my hand out of the way. There's the piezo buzzer is on here, and the piezo buzzer takes up a lot of room in the bottom of this frame, and that's why you have to have these such large spacers under the flight board so that the piezo buzzer, there we go. Piezo buzzer will have a little bit more room, and that it clears it. Now this thing, that my little battery voltage sensor, it actually sits up on top of the piezo buzzer a little bit, and I thought, oh, that might muffle the sound. Oh no, the piezo buzzer is plenty loud, so it didn't have any problem. Now this FrSky battery voltage sensor, it connects up to the X4R SB, the SB there. And then I have it come down here and it connects into these little leads right here. And these are full power connectors here. So it's actually reading the true voltage off of the battery. I was going to run it back to the back and plug it directly into where the batteries are soldered in. But then I thought, well, that's kind of messing with the point of having all these connectors all over. So you don't have to have wires, and that it can, run a little bit more, look a little bit more clean underneath. Up in the front, the camera that was included with the kit is right here, and it actually has the adapter on it, so it's connecting into the flight board right there, or into the power distribution board, and it just came like that, so it was very easy. The video transmitter, on the other hand, it did not come with the right connector, but the board did come with the right cables for this. So I had to go through, and you can see them right there, where I spliced all the power wires and the video and audio into the cable that can plug into the board right there below. And that, it wasn't too bad to do that. I mean, you just have to figure out how long do you want the wires to be, and the answer is enough to get this plate out of the way. On the motor here, to keep the wires from just being little, 4 or 5 millimeters to the ESCs, they actually come back here, and I circled them around, and then I went back and I soldered them on this way to the ESC. On the ESC itself, I took the ESC like this, and there's the 3 solder pads. This is a 30 amp. I'll use 20 amps. And I took the knife and I put it in here, and I cut this back about past the first little thing of sensors. Then I just pulled the shrink wrap out of the way so I could access the 3 points. Then I soldered the wires directly onto those 3 points and just pulled the shrink wrap back up around it. And that shrink wrap just separates it from the carbon fiber arms. And then I just use the black electrical tape to hold them into place. And it works fine. There's no reason that you have to re-shrink wrap the whole thing just because you cut some off. The whole point of shrink wrap is to keep it from shorting out, but it's still doing the same job. On this build, the hardest part of the whole build was really trying to figure out where I was going to put the receiver. Everything else is perfectly thought out. I mean, as far as location of where you're supposed to put the components. And the X4R isn't really one of the smallest receivers, but it is my favorite receiver because it runs S-Bus, and it's one of the smaller ones that FrSky makes. But like I said, I was able to put it in here, angle it a little bit, and I was able to get the FrSky voltage sensor also down underneath the flight board. And then since it's all being held in there so tight between all the spacers and the flight board, I didn't have to use any double-sided electrical tape or foam tape to hold it into place. You may have noticed this extra wire here. This is the PPM wire that I didn't hook up, but I left it on here in case I had any problems with the FrSky X4R SB. Then I was going to switch over and use the D4R and see if that helped any. But for now, I just leave the wire there. It doesn't hurt anything, and it doesn't short out to anything, so it's fine. Up here on the front, you can kind of see the wires from the receiver coming up. I just ran them up here and then ran them through these little slits on the side, and then put some zip ties in there to hold them up out of the way. On the camera, I tightened up the screw that holds it in place. The one down here across the bottom. I tightened it up just enough that the camera can still move, but it's going to hold its position pretty well, so that when I'm at the flying field, if we're going in a tight course, I can lean it more straight, and if we're in a more of a straightaway course, I'll be able to lean it back and get a little bit more speed out of the quadcopter by leaning it more and still seeing where I'm going. Anyway, this is the Tyrant 180. I'm going to go over some of the tuning now, and then we'll take it outside for a little test flight. On my board, I ended up installing BetaFlight 2.6.0, and you configure BetaFlight with CleanFlight, and so that's what we're looking at here. Now, the first thing I had to do was come in here after my quadcopter was assembled and calibrate the accelerometer. Otherwise, the thing goes crazy and it never knows which way is right side up. But okay, anyway. Then on the configuration tab, to get to turn on the X4R SB so it does S-Bus. Actually, first I came onto the ports tab, and right here I turned on the serial RX. After the serial RX is turned on, you got to save it, and then come over here to the configuration part. And on this screen, we need to come down here, and this is where you click on the RX serial, and then you click on S-Bus, and that gets the S-Bus signals to start being recognized. And like I said, they're on the 4th yellow wire. Now for me, I didn't change anything else on this screen. You could turn the motor stop off or on, but right now it's set up so that as soon as it's armed, it starts trying to, it'll start spinning the motors. I also have one shot enabled, so that's just if you want to have it on, I don't know. But anyway, back over to the PID settings. Okay, these are the PID settings I came up with that work so far for my quad. And I think these will work a lot better when I actually have the decent motors on here. Okay, so here I'll just show these real quick. Just so if you're trying to find a baseline to start with, at least you can start with these. Now on the roll rate and the pitch rate and the yaw rate, these are more tuned to your liking on how sensitive you want the sticks to be. If you want them real sensitive, you can put them up higher than this. If you want it like mine, I'll show you some of the flips that I do, and you can see how sensitive it is. But you can also counter the sensitivity a little bit by adding some expo into your transmitter or into your flight board, and you can have a little bit better stick movements. Here on the receiver page, once you have your flight board connected to your receiver, you should be able to power on your quadcopter, and then your sticks movements should be showing up inside here. Now, if you don't see the stick movements, it's probably because you don't have it set correctly. You don't have it configured correctly, like the S-Bus is plugged into the wrong cord, or maybe you didn't turn on the serial RX or one of the other settings, but you should be able to see the stick movements in here. If you're not using a Tyrannus, you're using a Spectrum, good luck to you, because I don't know anything about them. On mine, I don't have anything set for the auto level. The auxiliary one is actually working, but I don't have it set up for any auto level stuff because I just get off of that. I've gotten off of the using auto level and horizon mode just because you need to. If you're still using them and leaning and relying on them, my recommendation to you is to stop. Just go out, practice flying, practice over some tall weeds, so if you crash, it won't break. It'll have less chance of breaking anything, and learn to fly in acro mode. You'll be glad you did it later. I was also talking about where you could add expo into your flight board, and that's what you could do over here. You can turn on some RC expo right here. Mine's set at 0.6, and the RC rate's set at 1. The yaw expo is set at 0.2, and those are just what I'm using. You may already know this, but to calibrate your ESCs in CleanFlight, you need to come over here to the motors tab here. Then you want to click on this little I understand the risks thing here. You want to click on that, and so it turns green. And then before you plug in your motors, before you plug in your quadcopter into the battery, you want to turn this master setting all the way up so that so that all 4 motors are at a maximum setting. Then you plug in your battery, and it'll go beep, and then when it beeps all stop, you can push the end button on your keyboard, and it'll throw this all the way down to the bottom, and it'll pull all these down so that they're back down to the lowest setting. And what that does is it tells the ESCs where's the top of the throttle and where's the bottom of the throttle. That way it just calibrates them all the same. And you have to do that, or else you're going to have problems flying. So here's the latest version of BLHeli Suite, and because I have the BetaFlight installed on the board, and my ESCs have the BLHeli bootloader, I can come up here and click on the Scilab's BLHeli bootloader CleanFlight, and once you have that turned on, you can connect to the flight board and see all your ESCs. First thing I'm going to do is make sure the COM port's correct, and it is, and I click on connect. And this is where it actually goes in and it talks to the ESCs. And down here at the bottom you can see it says multiple ESC there. So next thing you got to do is click on Read Setup, and it will actually talk to the board, and there it populated all 4 of the ESCs that it found. And then the message up here is that they're all at the same level. That's just because I've already upgraded them. Now if you haven't upgraded them, what you'd want to do is go, once you get to this point where it's all red, you can come in. They're all read successfully. Okay, great. You want to come in here and you want to click on Flash BLHeli, and it will pop up this little screen like this, and hopefully your ESCs will be recognized automatically and they'll show up here. These, I'm using little B 20 amp ESCs. So you click on the firmware that you want and then push OK, and it will start flashing them. And it's going to flash them all one at a time. And it's going to flash all the ones that are checked down here. And by checked, I just mean like a dark color. If you, let me cancel off of this. If you click on these, they'll go away. So in this case, now I'm only going to program ESCs 1 and 4. Well, you don't want to do that. Just do them all the same. So up here in this top section, the only thing I changed in here was the frequency dampened right here. I changed it to dampened light all the way up, and then I changed the motor timing to medium. Everything else in here I just left the same. I just took the defaults of whatever they came with. Also in here, if your motor's spinning the wrong direction, you can change it here. But if you're going to do that, you want to make sure that you have the right ESC selected down here below, because you don't want to reverse all of them, unless of course all of them are backward, I guess. But you can either switch it here, or you can just switch any of the 3 wires coming off the motor to the ESC. Just switch them around, and it'll switch the direction the motor spins. Now, after I upgraded the BLHeli software, or the firmware on the ESCs, the quadcopter flew a lot more steady. And I also think that this does some kind of synchronization between the ESCs so that they are communicating correctly. Now, I don't know that you have to, but I do know that it made a difference for me, in that now I recommend upgrade your ESCs. And just so you know, this is BLHeli Suite 14.4.0.3. It's just the latest one that's out right now. Alright, so enough of this programming stuff. Let's go see what this thing looks like outside flying. So here's the Tyrant 180. It's all built out. I'm going to do a little test flying here. Now this thing is using some real junky, these little Eachine motors. These things were like $5 or $7 or something. They're the BG2204 2300 kV. Yeah, they're not real good. And one of them, when you spin it, you can hear the bearings inside messed up. Anyway. Yeah, the motors aren't real good, and you'll probably hear it in the motors when they spin. But this thing really needs a good set of motors, not cheapies. So I'll probably replace those later. But let's get some line of flight with this. Oh, also, I was going to show you. It has the LEDs and a little switch. And it switches them off, and it switches them on. So, exciting feature of the Tyrant 180. I haven't flown very many quads with 4-inch props, but yeah, you can hear these motors, how bad they are. The bearings in them are just making funny noises. And this doesn't have any auto level turned on, so we'll go ahead and do some little flights up and down the street and see how it does. Here we go, we'll go left. You can really hear those motors, those bearings. Here, I'll get out of the way.
1 minute.
But it flies real nice, even with junky bearings in it. But it'll do flips, rolls. It'll do backflips pretty easy. But it's pretty nice. Hold on, car's coming. All right, here we go. We'll do a couple more speeds. Another car coming. Alright, a couple more speed runs here. We'll try to get some burnouts on this and see how it does. We're just going to go right straight away from us. Here we go. Woo! Even these junky motors are pretty fun. We'll try it again. And it's really windy out here. Hopefully no cars come. Here we go. Oh, I need to get some new motors. These motors just make me cry. Nice. So this is a Tyrant 180. I really like this frame. I just need new motors. I shouldn't have just used these. I've had these for quite a while and I've been looking for something to use them on. But it could probably really benefit from some red bottom 2600 kV motors or something like that. Some with a little bit higher kV, just because they're 4-inch props. Anyway, I'm going to be probably making another video after I replace the motors, but that'll probably be a few weeks till they arrive. So anyway, if you have any questions about this, leave them in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching.